I never imagined my own sister would go to such lengths to sabotage my wedding. I always knew we had our differences, but I never thought she would take it that far. When I walked into my bridal suite that morning, expecting to see the dress of my dreams, I was met with something else entirely, something hideous. She thought she had won, that she had successfully ruined my big day. But karma works in unexpected ways. By the time the ceremony started, she was the one standing there in the very dress she had chosen to humiliate me with. And it was glorious. Let me tell you exactly how it happened. Growing up, my sister Rachel and I were never particularly close. She is 2 years older than me, and for as long as I can remember, she has always had this subtle but persistent need to one-up me. If I got a compliment, she would immediately try to outshine me. If I got a new dress, she would borrow it and conveniently return it ruined. My parents always brushed it off as sibling rivalry, saying, "That is just how sisters are." But deep down, I knew it was something more. Despite everything, I never stopped trying to have a real relationship with her. When I got engaged to my fiancé Daniel, I even asked Rachel to be my maid of honor. It felt like the perfect opportunity to mend our relationship, to show her that she was important to me. I thought maybe, just maybe, she would be happy for me. But the moment I told her the news, I saw something flicker in her eyes, something that was not excitement. At first, I convinced myself I was imagining things. Rachel acted supportive, at least on the surface. She helped with some of the planning, though she was unusually insistent on certain things, especially my dress. She kept making comments like, "You should go for something unique, not the cliché princess gown," or, "A simple look would suit you more." I thought she was just giving her opinion, but now looking back, I realized she was planting seeds for what was to come. I found my dream dress after weeks of searching, a stunning off-the-shoulder gown with delicate lace detailing and a long flowing train. The moment I put it on, I knew it was the one. Even my mother teared up when she saw me in it. Rachel, however, had nothing to say. She just looked at me with an unreadable expression and muttered, "It is nice." Still, I tried to include her in everything. I let her handle the final dress pickup since I was swamped with last-minute wedding tasks. She assured me she had everything under control, so I did not think twice about it. That was my mistake. The morning of my wedding, I was in my bridal suite, buzzing with excitement. My bridesmaids were getting ready, and everything was going perfectly, until I opened the garment bag that was supposed to contain my dress. What I pulled out was not my dream gown. It was an absolute monstrosity. It was old-fashioned with puffed sleeves, an awkwardly short length, and a neckline that looked like something out of a horror movie. The fabric was cheap and wrinkled, with an odd yellowish tint, as if it had been stored in an attic for decades. It was the ugliest thing I had ever seen. At first, I thought there had been some mistake. Maybe the boutique had given Rachel the wrong dress? But when I called them in a panic, they told me that Rachel had picked up my gown 2 days ago, without any issues. That was when it hit me. Rachel had done this. I felt a mix of shock, anger, and disbelief. Why would she do this to me? On my wedding day of all days? I could barely think straight. But I knew one thing. I was not going to let her ruin this for me. That was when karma decided to step in. My hands were shaking as I held the hideous dress in front of me. My bridesmaids gathered around, their faces twisted in horror. "This has to be a joke," my best friend Sarah said, reaching out to touch the fabric as if it might disintegrate in her hands. "It looks like something from a low-budget costume store." Another bridesmaid, Emily, muttered, "What happened to your real dress?" I swallowed hard, my mind racing. "Rachel picked it up," I said slowly, realization dawning. She had my real dress. The room fell silent. Everyone knew about my complicated history with Rachel. She had always been competitive with me in ways that never made sense. It was like she had an obsession with proving she was better, even when there was no competition. From childhood, if I got a new toy, she suddenly needed something better. If I made a new friend, she would go out of her way to make sure that friend liked her more. I had learned to live with it, to brush it off as sibling rivalry. But this was different. This was not just about outshining me. This was pure sabotage. I grabbed my phone and dialed Rachel's number, my fingers trembling with anger. She picked up after a few rings, her voice disgustingly cheerful. Hey, what is up, bride-to-be? Where is my dress? I demanded, skipping any pleasantries. There was a pause. Then, in the most fake sympathetic tone, she said, Oh no, did they give you the wrong one? Cut the act, Rachel. I know you picked it up. Where is it? She let out a dramatic sigh, as if she was completely unbothered by the fact that she had single-handedly tried to destroy the most important day of my life. Look, I just thought, maybe you would like something different. The original one was just so predictable. This one has character. It is vintage. I gripped the phone so tightly my knuckles turned white. Vintage? Rachel, this thing looks like it was pulled out of a garbage bin from the 1980s. Sarah leaned in close and muttered, More like the 1880s. Rachel, I said through gritted teeth, bring my dress back. Right now. Rachel actually had the audacity to laugh. Oh, come on, she said in that sickeningly sweet voice of hers. You are totally overreacting. No one will even notice once you put it on. It is your wedding day, sis. Should you really be making such a big deal over a dress? I could hear the smirk in her voice. She wanted this. She wanted me to have a meltdown. She wanted me to be humiliated in front of hundreds of people. And that was when it hit me. If she wanted to ruin my wedding, I would make sure she was the one who ended up humiliated. I took a deep breath, forcing my voice to stay calm. You are right, I said, my tone deceptively light. It is just a dress after all. There was a slight pause before Rachel answered. Exactly. Now you are getting it. I could practically hear the satisfaction in her voice. She thought she had won. Oh, how wrong she was. Thanks for the perspective, I said, my lips curling into a smile. See you at the ceremony. Then, I hung up before she could respond. Sarah blinked. Oh, what just happened? You do not actually plan on wearing that, right? She gestured at the monstrosity of a dress. Of course not, I said. Rachel wants me to be humiliated, but I will not give her that satisfaction. She will not see it coming. Emily frowned. What are you planning? A slow grin spread across my face. Rachel is about to get exactly what she deserves. The first thing I did was inform my mother. Now, my mom had spent years excusing Rachel's behavior, always brushing it off as, oh, she is just competitive, or she is going through a phase. But this time was different. When I told her what Rachel had done, my mom went pale. She did what? I nodded. She swapped my wedding dress and pretended she lost it. I expected her to tell me to calm down, or that I should not let it ruin my day. But instead, she pressed her lips together in a tight line and said, I will handle her. And just like that, Operation Karma was in full swing. I worked fast. While my mom went to confront Rachel, I enlisted the help of my bridesmaids. We had two objectives: find my real dress, ensure Rachel ended up in the ugly one. We split up. Sarah and Emily searched every possible place my dress could be hidden, while I focused on the second part of the plan. Rachel had planned to wear a sleek, designer gown to my wedding. She had spent weeks bragging about how stunning she would look as the maid of honor. So when she arrived at the venue, smug and confident, she had no idea what was waiting for her. About 20 minutes before the ceremony was supposed to start, my mother dragged Rachel into the bridal suite. She looked furious. Rachel, my mom said in a dangerously low voice, give your sister back her dress. Now. Rachel scoffed, crossing her arms. I already told her, I do not have it. Maybe she should stop being so dramatic, and just wear the one she has. At that exact moment, Sarah and Emily burst through the door, holding my real dress. We found it, Sarah shouted, holding it up triumphantly. She stuffed it in her car. Rachel's smirk instantly vanished. You have got to be kidding me, I said, stepping forward. You seriously tried to keep my wedding dress in your car? Rachel's mouth opened and closed like a fish, but no words came out. She had been caught red-handed, and there was no way to talk herself out of it. But the best part, the final piece of the plan, while Rachel was busy trying to steal my moment, I had secretly arranged for her own dress to go missing. My mother crossed her arms. Rachel, you have two choices. You can either wear the only dress available. She gestured at the hideous, puffy-sleeved disaster that she had tried to force on me. Or you can sit out the wedding entirely. Rachel's eyes widened. You cannot be serious. Oh, we are very serious, I said, tilting my head. Like you said earlier, it is just a dress, right? No one will even notice once you put it on. I watched as her face turned beet red. She wanted to argue, to scream, to throw a fit. But she was cornered. She had no other options. And so, with gritted teeth and fury in her eyes, Rachel was forced to put on the very dress she had picked out to humiliate me. And the moment she stepped into that ceremony, all eyes on her in that ridiculous, outdated disaster of a dress, it was glorious. Rachel looked absolutely miserable in that dress. The moment she stepped out of the bridal suite, whispers spread like wildfire among the guests. Is she serious? Someone muttered. She looks like an extra from a Victorian ghost movie. Even some of our relatives were snickering. Rachel, who thrived on attention and looking perfect, was now at the center of the very kind of spectacle she had tried to create for me. As I walked down the aisle in my real wedding dress, the one I had dreamed of wearing, I caught sight of Rachel standing near the front. Her arms were stiff at her sides, her lips pressed into a thin line. She was furious. I held my head high, letting the satisfaction settle in my chest. But Rachel was not done yet. After the ceremony, when we moved on to the reception, she tried one last desperate attempt to save herself from complete humiliation. She stormed over to me, her fake smile stretched across her face. I cannot believe this mix-up happened, she said loudly, as if trying to rewrite the narrative. I mean, who even brought this thing to the venue? It is so hideous, right? She let out a forced laugh, gesturing at the dress, as if she had been forced into it by some tragic accident. I played along, smiling sweetly. Oh, but Rachel, did you not say no one would even notice once I put it on? Her smile twitched. I leaned in, lowering my voice just enough so only she could hear. Enjoy the attention. It is what you wanted, right? For the first time in her life, Rachel had no comeback. She just stood there, her face red with embarrassment, her jaw clenched. I turned away, joining my new husband and our guests. Rachel had lost. The rest of the evening was perfect. We laughed, we danced, we celebrated, and for the first time, I truly felt free of my sister's toxic games. As for Rachel, she sulked for most of the night, glaring at anyone who dared to giggle at her misfortune. When the night finally ended, she practically ran out of the venue. She had tried to sabotage me. Instead, she became the joke. And honestly, it was the best wedding gift I could have ever received. The next morning, I woke up still glowing from the events of the previous day. The wedding had been a dream come true, and despite Rachel's attempts to ruin it, everything had worked out better than I could have ever imagined. I stretched in bed, my husband beside me, still fast asleep. A smile tugged at my lips as I replayed the image of Rachel standing in that hideous dress, trying to keep her composure while the guests whispered and giggled. The memory was golden. Curious, I reached for my phone and checked my messages. That was when I saw it, dozens of notifications. The wedding pictures had started making the rounds online. My friends and family had posted stunning shots from the ceremony and reception, and everyone had commented on how beautiful and elegant the event had been. But then I noticed something even better. A few guests had shared pictures of Rachel, her standing awkwardly in that monstrous dress, her expression filled with barely contained rage, while everyone around her was having the time of their lives. Her attempt at smiling through it while failing miserably. And the captions? Oh, they were glorious. When karma decides your wedding outfit. Why does she look like an abandoned Victorian doll? The real MVP of the wedding, this dress. I laughed out loud, unable to contain my amusement. My best friend Sarah had even uploaded a picture of us together side by side. Me in my stunning gown, Rachel in her tragic mess of a dress, with the caption, "One of these sisters supports the bride. The other tried to sabotage her, and got exactly what she deserved." The comment section was on fire. Some people who had no idea about our history were confused. Wait, why is the maid of honor wearing that? Others who knew the full story were delighted to see karma in action. OMG, after all the drama she pulled before the wedding, this is perfect. I scrolled, my amusement growing with each comment. But then I saw one that nearly made me drop my phone. Rachel had posted. It was a long dramatic rant about how some people just cannot handle a little humor, and how she was so done being blamed for things that were out of her control. She claimed that her dress was switched at the last minute by mistake, and that she tried to laugh it off, but some people just love to see others suffer. The funniest part? She never denied what she had done to my dress. She just played the victim, pretending that she was the one who had been wronged. I just shook my head. Classic Rachel. For a brief second, I considered responding, but then I put my phone down, leaned back, and sighed in contentment. There was no need. Everyone who knew the truth had already seen it unfold with their own eyes. Rachel's games had finally caught up with her, and this time, she had been outplayed. And honestly, I did not need to lift a single finger to make it happen. Karma had done all the work for me. A few weeks passed after the wedding, and life slowly settled into its new rhythm. My husband and I returned from our honeymoon feeling happier than ever, ready to start this new chapter together. But Rachel, she was still fuming. Every time I heard from family members, they mentioned how Rachel was still complaining about the wedding. She kept insisting that she had been set up, and that someone must have deliberately switched the dresses to humiliate her. I did not argue. I did not correct her. What was the point? No one believed her. Even our own mother, who had always been quick to defend Rachel, rolled her eyes at her theatrics. I do not know why she is still going on about it. Mom sighed over the phone one evening. She made her choices, and they backfired. Maybe she should learn something from this. I smiled at that. For years, Rachel had gotten away with everything. She had manipulated, lied, and twisted situations to suit herself, always making herself the center of attention at my expense. But this time, she had played herself. It was the first time she had truly faced real consequences for her actions, and she could not stand it. I would be lying if I said it did not feel good. It was satisfying to finally see karma do its thing, to watch her own scheming blow up in her face. But more than that, it was freeing. For so long, I had let Rachel's behavior affect me. I had spent years worrying, overthinking, and dreading her next move. I had let her steal my joy, my confidence, my peace. But standing there on my wedding day, surrounded by love, laughter, and people who truly cared about me, I realized something. Rachel no longer had power over me. She could scheme, she could complain, she could try to rewrite the story all she wanted. But the truth had already been written, and I was happier than ever. So, I let it go. I let Rachel keep ranting while I moved forward with my life, happily married, surrounded by people who actually loved and supported me. Because in the end, that was the real win.